Hello and welcome to Wake Up to the Bible. I'm Daniel Kaplan and I'm here with my father, Dr. Mark Kaplan, and we are going through the books of the law this year and making our own comments throughout. We are going through the traditional readings of the cycle of the Torah. So if you have friends who go to Orthodox synagogue or something like that, you'll be following along right with them. Our reading today is actually quite short. It's only 3 verses. It's just the way traditionally they divide up this material. So this might be a bit of a shorter episode, but sometimes some little things, it almost makes you wonder, maybe we should focus a little bit more on this. So I'll go ahead and dive in. Genesis 4:19. And Lamech took him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zilhah. And Adah bore Jabal. He was the first of tent dwellers with livestock. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the first of all who play on the lyre and pipe. As for Zillah, she bore Tubal-Cain, who forged every tool of copper and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. So we have a bunch of names here. So I know it's a short passage. But what I find interesting is, first of all, this is the first account where you have polygamy going on. You have 2 wives, which is from the son of Cain. So that's not good news for those of you who want to be polygamists, because not necessarily the best lineage. But what I also find interesting is the fact that it goes out of its way to describe the descendants of Cain, and it gives them things that they did. They were the first people to do tens. They were the first, the people that forged tools, the people that invented music. So I almost get from it, just reading it, my first impression is almost that, even from this sort of, you know um, yucky situation, that you still have some progression going on, you have some human development, and it is worth noting about. And God is not taking it, is not like punishing the descendants necessarily for the sin of the father. There are still accomplishments that the descendants are able to have. I don't know. What are your thoughts when you look at this?
There's a difference between talent and character, and so the Bible is acknowledging that even though this was, generally speaking, maybe an unrighteous line, but still they made contributions to human development. Uh, there is a tradition, I believe, going back. Well, let's say I don't want to say going back to Rashi, because he normally was recording earlier traditions, but I believe you'll find a medieval Jewish commentator, Rashi, thinks in terms of Jabal, the father of those who play the harp and lute, that he was the father of those who misused those instruments, used them in a negative way. That may, I'm just throwing that in. Um, and it's also interesting to me. Uh, let's say I'll say this: we have prominent people prior to the flood who lived a long time. Now, after the flood, stories were told, and many of these people who had lived so long, were so prominent pre-flood, they became maybe the basis for some of the gods and goddesses of later civilization. And we have here Tubal-Cain, and to me, it reminds me of Vulcan, the Romans, and I guess it's Hephaestus of the Greeks, but it may go back to this person. I also want to say one other thing. At the end of the account, we have a woman named Nama, and I believe there is a tradition. Just to let you know, I believe there is a tradition that Nama is the one who winds up being Mrs. Noah. But Noah's wife is not named,
Hmm.
but I think there is that tradition.
Yeah, that's really interesting, huh? Um, Noah Nama, just it rolls off the tongue nicely. Um, One other thing I was thinking about too, though, is getting onto what you were saying about potentially misusing music. It is interesting that this is the first uh, time music is mentioned, since music plays such an important role throughout the Bible. And if this truly is the origin of it, and if the origin of it is truly from a you know a wicked sort of society, or a not biblically compliant society, it is fascinating that from that we still have uh, instruments that are used for the opposite reason. As when you think of the lyre, you think of King David calming Saul's distressed spirit. So uh, either you could take this as maybe this was somebody that was not part of that society, maybe they were an outlier, or you could take it as it starts out as something negative, and God turns it into something for good. And of course, we all know that music can be used for positive and for negative. It's a highly effective uh, thing. It's psychologically incredibly manipulative, so we obviously have to be careful on how music is used.
Yeah, but I do want to say that the Bible is very pro music, and it really encourages people to be musicians. And sometimes you find people saying, "Okay, I'm going to prophesy, but first you've got to play some music." You know, it's so the Bible is very positive on music.
And music is just such a fascinating thing, psychologically, scientifically, because it's not fully understood exactly in terms of, if you want to just parse it out into specifics, why we like music so much, why we respond to it. And one of my favorite explanations of why humans respond really well to music is that music is layers of different thoughts that create a beautiful harmony, and it's that intricacy of systems that we just really like. It's that bringing order, and it gives us that sense of it's an act it's in my opinion, I'll make the case, it's a bit of a divine act of creation in terms of when done correctly, because you really are establishing things that maybe sounds, and blending them, and it's creating this beautiful harmony of noise, essentially. But it could be noise because all if you just tune things slightly off, if you have your notes slightly off, it sounds dreadful. But when you have it just aligned just right, and I think that's why some people got a little mystical about it in terms of unholy chords and things like that, and I don't buy into that. But I think there is something to be said about that. There's something to be said about the divinity of just music itself. And it is interesting to see it placed here, first of all, in the Bible. I'm not sure how many of you know that. Well, you know it now, so now you can quiz your friends. Any other thoughts about this short little passage we covered?
Uh, no, not at the moment.
All right. Well, that being said, we will see you next episode, and we will be picking up where we left off, and we'll see you there.